All right. So we'll start with offering the mandala as a token of requesting the teachings, and then Geshe will lead the way with reciting the verse for refuge and bodhicitta for correcting a motivation. So, but yeah, forgot about the Ganem Hageman, Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga. So stay tuned; it will be on the screen in a second. Too. Let's see. Hi, Nigel.
So we're on, if people have, everyone have? It's up there anyway. Page 7. From the heart of the Savior, the 100 deities of Shiva and the peak of the cloud, resembling a clump of extremely white fresh the King of Dharma, omniscient Vaisandra, please come here together with the sons. In the sky before me, on the line for a lotus and moon happy, your glory smiles with delight. Supreme, Lord, for my faith, please abide for 100 eons to spread the teachings. Your holy mind has the intelligence that understands the full extent of objects to be known. The Holy Speech, with its excellent explanations, is in your order for those who look forward to it. The Holy Body is ready with beautiful with glory renowned. You are needful to see and remember I prostrate. These drinking water, flowers, incense, lights, and waters, and so forth. Oceans of cloud, offerings, passion, I offer to you this field of earth. Whatever kind of virtue or body, speech, or mind, especially those opposite to the vows and that on this time, I confess each and every one with fervent regret on my heart. You strive for much learning and practicing this degenerate age, and make your freedoms and riches to me. I abandon the end of your concerns, sincerely rejoice in your extensive perfect pure holy gurus on the billowing clouds, compassion in the sky and Dharma. Please let all rain of the farm with extensive Dharma on the testicle for those who institute exactly as they did. May whatever whatsoever be ready for teachings and all tracks like every wings in particular may cause the essence of perfect purpose and justice to shine forever. Saji Puri Joshin By the merits of having offered this mandala to Lama Tsongkhapa and his two sons, may I, my family members, and all sentient beings be able to live, practice, and actualize the teachings of the victorious one of Vaisandra, who had the morality of eliminating the pure way of life, was courageous in the extensive conduct of the sons of the victorious ones, and accomplished the other two stages of supreme bliss and emptiness. By the thoughts of having fervently requested in this way, all the beings of white light were admitted, our hearts are the perfect, pure Father and Sons, and combining into one eternal ground. White nectar, the color of milk, flows from the opening of the tube of white light, cleansing for my sicknesses, spirit harms, their obscurations, and their infringement without exception. My body becomes as pure and clear as crystal. Page 13 and December, white line. Nigme se recession generesi, Jime Kimbe Wompo Chakaya, Lupuma Rishon Se Sameta, Kache Kimbe Sujet Sonkapa, Los Andra Vesha Suwa, Nigme se recession generesi, Jime Kimbe Wompo Chakaya, Lupuma Rishon Se Sameta, Kache Kimbe Sujet Sonkapa, Los Andra Vesha Suwa, Nigme se recession generesi. Jime Kimbe Wompo Chakaya, Lupuma Rishon Se Sameta, Kache Kimbe Sujet Sonkapa, Los Andra Vesha Suwa.
Sangi
Children Sogi Chonamba, Chachu Badu Dani Tatsuchi, Dagi Chunjuri Persona, Rola Benchi Sangi Drupashu.
Sangi
Children Sogi Chonamba, Chachu Badu Dani Tatsuchi, Dagi Chunjuri Persona, Rola Benchi Sangi Drupashu.
Sangi
Children Sogi Chonamba, Chachu Badu Dani Tatsuchi, Dagi Chunjuri Persona, Rola Benchi Sangi Drupashu.
Kangi Tsultrim zone Tawa Tamche Pambi Chere Kambi Chunu Tunze Kodam Jela Changze. Good morning. Hari. Asani. 참디 참 딱딱지 하고 마서 이내야 간다 까마버러비 돌지 기 소마 단서 딘참니 슈윈스트리 이네 뒤츠데리아 가서 같이 이세기 뒤츠 간다 까마버 우리 집된 봐 인천이 도지 초기 이네 총갈 기능이야 아니 집 능은 있어 아니 기회 또니 아니 그 참지 시간은 참는 게 이제 아니 송티톤 이상의 쇼스.
So, good morning, everyone. We've been covering Lama Tsongkhapa's middling presentation of the steps of the path to enlightenment, and we're currently looking at the point that explains how to listen and explain the teaching. So, Geshe covered a few points in that section, and can't remember exactly where we left off in the previous session, but there is, I'll put the text on the screen. So try to get rid of this. All right, so this, just looking at the outline to begin with. So in listening to the teachings, we rely on the 6 attitudes, or the 6 perceptions. So the perception of oneself as a patient, perception of the one expanding the Dhamma as the doctor, and generating the perception of the instruction as medicine. This is what we've covered in the previous week. Now, in this section, we have a quotation that is taken from the writing of Kamawa, which seems to be referring to the Karmapa, one of the Karmapa, maybe Ropa Doje. So just a thought of picking up from this point today. It's actually, as it happened, it's just been His Holiness the Karmapa's birthday, Ugyen Chinle Doje. So, with our body, speech, and mind, we also pay respect to His Holiness the Karmapa and send him greetings for his birthday.
Tere dinza yawa Kamapati jangula mitembateya and dewa chimpu ye dewa chagiyanza pena ane Kamapa rubi torjiti and yawa tsungabagi lami telaya yoris ro Toma ane gening tomba shesati Kamapa rubi torji kunani ane gening tomba she nanchi tus nansagi lami tsuyo yoris.
So we send greetings to the Karmapa, His Holiness the Karmapa, and there's a great link between the Karmapa and the great master Lama Tsongkhapa. The person that Lama Tsongkhapa took the vow of approaching virtue from, the lay vow, was the Karmapa Ropa Doje.
아니 까마고 인천에 돌지 코인반다 공로 숨주성아 슈고 레미더니 아니 총가티 드리차고레스 인자 아니 딱 간지 코 아니 먼저 제 산지 때문에 양고 아니 표준 난딩기 텐징기 기위나니 아니 쭈 지직 제가 마음바이나야 쭈는 쭈이텔이야 아니 페위여바티 게시 자탄도 슈투바도 차고레스 로 인자 아니 딱 간지 아니 드림 총가드 딱 된지 공기 직 아니 투지 컨트라 지여바이네 템버타냐 드로레야 아니 직 장규기 제버틀 컨트 지여바이네 투 사말로 아니 직 투기 세고는 신 조투야기 먼저 디키니 물론 슈윙스
So the current Kamapa is the 17th in line. So it's, as we said, this is the birthday of the Kamapa Ugyentuna Doje. He's 35 years old, and currently in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, is regarded as one of the foremost holders of the teachings, those that carry that responsibility of holding the teaching. So Geshe also reckons that in the future he will play a major role in preserving the teachings of the Buddha. And as such, we can make prayers for the success of all the activities of the Kamapa in terms of caring for the teachings, holding the teachings, acting for the sake of other sentient beings. May all these activities come true successfully.
Then did that come over Rubidoji Shani, Tenlam Menana, Tedder Commission Julo draw this Chetan Kazik Shusarda, and it took some Jonichim, Temni, not a shit, Chevala, Greeking now Yimashi songs. Kanjing on that, and a Chadam Monsumki, and a same dripchini, T. Wangi, and Gonzolia, Tamantiba, you much the Yongi about the Gacha Gatamba race, in the Ding Manzu, and a king digging by the Hamakovachi, Chadam Monsun Kiagi, you Korang Tolapa, and it's in Yankadamas, some teaching, so Cholayaji, gay over the Munzinchi Matudi, and that she gave the self to Yagi. Tudo the Kokota, it's all in the Marayadi, tell to the about serious raw. In the Kian so the Susu Chogi, Chadam Mosung Tony, Kyungi over the Munzin Chituana, Tinti that Nasa the Mosun, Susu Chole, Kyoji, Munzin Chituana, Teni Sony, any Kyundi, Nyon Dragi, Nasa the Mosun, the Nyon Dragi, Tap 10 Tuyaji, and then go to Tugras, right?
So looking at where we are at the text, so again, looking at the outline. So we started the section that explains how to teach and listen to those teachings. Now, in listening to the teachings, we rely on 6 attitudes. The first one is contemplating the perception of oneself as a patient. And in that section, we have the quotation from the writing of the Kamapa. So if it is not in accord with the actual situation, our meditation goes off in the wrong direction. We have been stricken with the chronic disease of the 3 poisons. The illness is very grave, but we do not know we are ill at all. So our main problem is afflictive states of mind. Our main problems, the main sickness that we have is of anger, attachment, and ignorance. And we have no idea that we're sick. We don't know that. And under the power of anger, attachment, and ignorance, we completely surrender to them. And the type of idea that we develop when we interact with other things is that there is a problem out there in the object, right? So we are completely committed to objects that are outside without understanding that the problems or the difficulties actually stem from our own anger, attachment, and ignorance. And so long as we do not see the hold of anger, attachment, and ignorance, the way that they control our mind for that long, we'll not be able to recover from the problems and the difficulties that we experience from the, you can say, from that sickness. So our goal is to identify that, to identify the faults of anger, attachment, and so forth. And when we do that, we have an opportunity, we have an ability to reduce the power of our own afflictive states of mind. This is where we begin. We begin with recognizing that the mind is controlled by anger, attachment, and the like.
먼저 안글 예리를 패도 당고는 간지 캡다 직체살다스.
So good morning, Uncle Gary. So Geshe had in last night's teaching, Geshe came up with a new pet project. The Kolashena? Yeah. But this time around, you're not the main player in that project. I mean, you will have a part to play, but you're not the main person. I'm sorry to tell you. Geshe will be the main person. So the story, I'm just going to repeat what Geshe said yesterday. So he came across with frustration. It's connected probably with frustration. So in yesterday's teaching, Geshe said that he came across a photo of 1,000 statues that were created by Lamrim Kappa. There were tzatzas, and also tzatzas are clay statues that are made of mold. So he came across a photo, an image of 1,000 tzatzas crafted by Lamrim Kappa of Buddha Shakyamuni. And Geshe hasn't seen that before, so he was deeply inspired, and he thought that in the future he should do something like that. So he should, his plan now is to create 1,000 statues or tzatzas of Lamrim Kappa. So he's going to claim a spot in your art studio. Sorry? The art studio, yeah. And he's going to start making the tzatzas, right? So it's not you, but also, I guess that you have to claim your territory of the where to kind of the 1,000 chimreziks, because you might have Lamrim Kappa suddenly appearing on the walls.
Slices are $150
Can say. Discount. Yeah, that was why Geshe said that you're not the main person to do the statues, because Geshe knows that you're expensive. If he makes the statues, it's going to be for free.
아니 캐버티스도 왔어. 간스는 고급도 나 디저트스도 얘네 답변은 간주기 남주 지 혼조 사야라 소바 이나노라야 아니 지 제로 지 혼조 사야 카투리아 아니 고통지 아니 tempo 고통지 두 상승 등이 인체티 아니 고통지 디게 고버든 제소스 배 에너지 샘이야 오늘 가츠르단지 이 슈레스 다 용고라 레슨 딘자 소스 샘노야 지 남중가비 진주지 명원이 지 남디기 고통지 레슨은 샤우트와나 야고라 samsung 샘 담자샤지 다 겸주셔서 비 사자다 도즈다 안 캐나기니 슈고로 왔어 이 나라 차타자지 케키 멘자 마슈란시로 왔어라 마다디게 엔지 타치요라 단조 손타인티 소니 자원이 캐나다야 이 핀치기 비 이 경땅 말했어. 뒷땅에는 네 계좌도 갈래 말았어.
So Geshe knows, Gary, that you're very experienced in creating statues, stupas, tsatsas for many years. Last year, actually, Gary completed a project, I think that it's completed, of creating 1,000 statues of Lama Tsongkhapa and posting them over to India. Is it finished?
This is true, that we definitely talk about the helpful people in Indian customs. Wasn't a happy ending.
All right, wasn't happy ending, but the statues were created. So, so you've been doing it for quite a few years, and Geshe is is thinking of starting to do something like that himself. And as I said a couple of minutes ago, Geshe got that idea from an image that he saw of those statues that were created by Lama Tsongkhapa. So Lama Tsongkhapa himself, that was a great master, has done his own preliminary practices. So in his preliminary practices, he created 1,000 statues of the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha. So Geshe hasn't seen that image before, that picture before, but he saw that and he was deeply inspired. And as a follower of Lama Tsongkhapa, he thought to himself that in the future he should follow suit, should do something like that. So this is where the idea to create 1,000 Lama Tsongkhapa statues came from. Now, Gary, worry not, you're not going to be required to put anything towards that process. You just need to allocate a space for Geshe to work. So this is Geshe's request. After all, he wants to make those statues himself, the tsatsas himself. If someone else contributes to them financially or otherwise, Geshe is not going to accrue the roots of virtue that one should be working on in gathering the accumulations or gathering the merit in the practice of preliminary. So for long as Geshe is still here with us at Chimerazik Institute, Geshe is planning to kind of just do it as an ongoing thing, as his own part of his own personal practice. So if you're willing to accommodate him in the art studio, then the process could begin.
I think that can be fairly easily done. It would also be very good if other people could help, particularly with painting, role painting.
So you're slotting something else in.
And I'm assuming that Geshe is going to use one of the images that we already have, like the ones on the wall here.
Isn't
We have to make a new image. That's nothing complicated.
You mean like create a new tsatsa? Tsatsa mold? 죄송한데 바기디 라가제스탄 사마데르 라기레사. 바디 아니 바기안데 tsatsa 심바 군도 심바라야 얀데 세슈고로 아니 콘솔라데 로카 첸도요나 쇼사. 아니 이안 제렘버체 tsatsa에만 군자치 샹와이나 덴다워치 샹긴베 덴데 샹와이나 답데워치 레샤스. 다 tsatsa기 파르스토아 사바치 소고요나 테 캬스모치레스.
kalli kazu kalli gyaba ni kitsu ni gyaba chesa go sares dingone insares radi.
So whether or not we're going to use, Geshe is going to use the same tsatsa, we'll still yet to see. But Geshe said that even if it's a complicated and difficult process for creating a new mold, the harder you work, the more merit, virtue you accrue. No, this is not joking, actually. Geshe said, when you work hard on something virtuous, the harder you work, the more roots of virtue you create.
Garden on the Yubi, Tembi could the Jewina, and it temperature in the Timchi, Pigilaya, and it Castaka, Shesa Machine, and it Shella Sunjulaya, and it Jontan Chini, and it Kulikani, Gom Yami Cheval Denny, and it Sangivar was. Nanzu, the Kadil Jiglela, which is the digital sound and Joanna, Nanzu Jilita Yanga Asra.
So as you came up, you probably came across the Nalanda Master Garden. So we have this new garden which is going to be inaugurated in a week or 10 days. One of the statues that we have in that garden is a statue of the Buddha, fasting Buddha. And Geshe says that when you look at what this statue symbolizes, what it tells us, where it symbolizes the Buddha being so kind of emaciated, it symbolizes that idea that in order to pursue the state of Buddhahood, there will be a lot of hard work that one will have to put in place, even insofar as skipping food or giving up on some portions of food and so forth, which is not an easy feat at all. So this is the type of attitude that we take when we consider what those images represent. Anyway, we have a few people that have just joined us, so good morning. Just to fill you in with what we're doing here, we're looking at some teachings that are assembled from the Buddha's teachings.
And same di condition your tango do and your tango do the mundo go do not and carry chan your tango do condition your tango do so the some doesn't be tiresias nanchu.
So we're looking at the teachings of the Buddha. Now, Buddhism in Tibetan is called Nangchu, which can be translated literally into English as the inner Dharma, the inner religion, or the inner spiritual path. Now, out of our body, speech, and mind, the main thing that we work with that inner spiritual path is the mind. So we don't seek to transform or to change external things. What we want to work with is our mind. And in order to do that, we first of all want to recognize what's happening to our mind. What's going on now with our mind? And if we want to change our mind, to transform our mind, what do we want it to be? And in what way do we change it? What are the methods? What are the means that we use in order to enact that mental transformation?
And the Kongi and Konang Yamne Nanchi and Yamne Tachini, the Masi Ondigi, Lanzo, and Chidan George took Seji, Shigur, the name George took Tonjaro, Mantonjaro, Anzutapena, Zambeling Dinala Yobi, any Midan, Tundrugu, Kan Yoba, the Tonchus Yobi, and the Simjin Yozok, Samu Malolaya. Deval Devatan, Dunga Mundevati, and it's Chikuriabati, Mansama, Nyambares, the D Manzu part, and Shimju Chibaina, and the Manzulamsa, and the Ratra to get Nitu D, Shilla Shabitoni, and Nanju Lavjati, Gayores.
So the one who taught that inner transformation was the Buddha. Now, the Buddha has himself attained a state of enlightenment. He practiced for quite a few years, and he brought his practices to a state of culmination and attained a state of Buddhahood. And what the Buddha saw through his practice is that we're living beings, and in the Buddhist tradition, the Buddha spoke of 6 types of living beings. Some of them we can see at the moment, some beings are not visible to us, but they still exist. So you can say that there are 6 types of beings, living beings. And what we can see of those 6 types of beings, what we can see at least in this world, is we have us as human beings and also animals, right? So we share that planet. One thing that the Buddha said with respect to all of us, is that when you look closely at what we do throughout the day and so forth, what you can see is that the thing that is common to all of us is to wish to be happy, to be well, to be safe, to be protected, and not to experience suffering, pain, and so forth. When you look closely at whatever we do, lifestyle and so forth, you can recognize the equality of all of us in wishing to be well and not wishing to be unwell or not wishing to suffer.
Tere dinzada manzo dewa dewa da dunga munde wa chigyur yimba khanshilaya ani dewa dilaya ani rignichi dunga la rignichi baina tene pe ani tab dewo ani ratwe tuye dos pena manzo lu dewa ro lu dewa ani sem dewa nichi lu dunga sem dunga tus nichi baina the dinam duhores dewa da dunga seadi.
So now, although there are different ways of referring to what we experience on the physical level and on the mental level, we can condense those different experiences into happiness or suffering. So when you look at happiness and suffering, roughly speaking, there are two levels to them. There are the things that we experience on the physical level, on the sensorial level, and what we experience on the mental level. That's easy to get, right? Physical experiences of pleasure or comfort, and mental happiness of, or mental level of happiness and the like.
먼저 제바치 두고 왔어. 비 류대야 차긴 가주 수요가 있네요. 아니 샘 기분면은 디기 아니 디기티 제 두메바디 베시고레스. 샘 데부 지요바이나 샘 망고라야 시대다 파베데 딘지 지요바이나 류대 요야기 차긴 가주 수용바 있네요. 니마치 칼라 듀슨 담만단지마도 메바 있네요. 메드르시시 데투에 요야지 야샤자다만도 왔어.
So then first off, we begin with recognizing the physical and mental levels of experiences. And one thing that then we can deduce is that whatever we experience on a mental level is much more significant than the experience that we have on a physical level. Like, for example, when you compare physical comfort or physical pleasure to mental happiness, you can see how mental happiness and well-being overrides the experience that we have on a physical level. Like, for example, it might be that physically, in terms of conditions that are conducive conditions, everything will work well for you. But if your mind is not well, with the mind that is unhappy, it doesn't matter how many conducive conditions are there externally, you're still miserable or unhappy. Whereas if on a mental level, things are going well for you, you're happy, you're well, but externally, your conditions are not favorable. Even insofar as one day, suppose that you don't have enough food for 3 meals a day, still, with a mind that is happy and mind that is well, you can bring about a state of mind that is still vast and spacious. You can still be relaxed and open-minded, even if externally, those conducive conditions are not favorable.
당한주 류데 네갑 류다 데오 가서 데부 용야당 안지 탕탕 소야지 요르데이네야 칼리 비기다지 아니 로나츠야 레온디게 류코랑 그란시 텔이야 요타임 베주치려야 마 코드레디 류 그란시렌도스 류 코용데 잠발라 아니 류 동하 카리네야 아니 케가나치 동하디 용용 버지레도스 that D any tell ya dot maybe nilu tell nyamdu so the same D kajusiki any jamba chini any jamba tembaina yagi draw yodewachi kuni neta mandraji D yovaza same gi sound tan same gi to tan tolaya komdi ten to na lu kobikabina ya any lo devuchini lo devuchin get to edge gachijata mayuyores ra.
And when we look at the body and what we can do with our body, we can train it. We can make it fit to perform certain activities, but as time goes by, we lose fitness, the body starts to crumble, it deteriorates and so forth, we cannot avoid the process of birth, sickness, aging, and death. This is irreversible. So although there are some things that for the time being we can improve in the body, still, when you look at it on the great scale, the body goes from bad to worse, it deteriorates. But with the mind, it's different. With the mind, you can still train it in new ways of thinking. You can increase the qualities of the mind further and further without limits, without borders. So while physically we are going through a state of decline, with the mind it's going in the opposite direction, or it can go in an opposite direction. We can develop mental trainings, ways of thinking, make the mind do some other things, new things, and that can be done exponentially.
Tere dinza that di semkam gi devatriya gi that have yashu di karesna semlaya dungatriya gi ani gyugen so di nangi semgtoni legi yobadi the nambi gi shonaya dingunzi chigores pena nangi semlaya pena ngazta chi mashibi mombatan ani chi dasha shuchimbola sowa ani ngarjeda in control shuchil angi then bedi ngazta magiba sogyobadi ani sanglo chukol samtamaina tende ini tontuya redwasra.
Happiness and well-being developed on a mental level can be nourished through creating the right set of causes and conditions. And the causes and conditions contributing to mental happiness and well-being are found within the mind itself, right? So we cultivate them in our own mind. So currently what prevents us from developing that mental happiness and well-being, in the sense of what gives us problems, are states of mind such as confusion, not knowing and not understanding what is real, and anger, attachment, pride, animosity, strong animosity to others, and so forth. We know based upon our personal experience how many problems, difficulties we experience due to these states of mind.
Inayang kondro di sasagi kondro sevikali yachi kian chance di kondro sasagi yula patresha yachi nganju samono di yorwas that di any shimju cheba ina any that pena samsama yachi any ngaltan gemu gigu save sort of ngaltan be milo tag to slachi kondro sadya dindi yorwas that di namkyu di misulachi di namkyu the social tembaina and control sag de tarjecheda tawning tin jagmadas tinza di kartyong gorsna control di any pigi sasag yul tichigu toni control sag mebadi pesivra triggers tara.
With anger, for example, when we look at anger, we can see how when anger arises, we're made unhappy. Anger is the thing that is making our mind unhappy, and we know that based upon a personal experience, and yet when anger arises, we think that the problem is not in the mind. What is making us unhappy is the object, right? So we put everything on the object. That is the thing that is making us unhappy, without recognizing how anger itself is the contributor to our unhappiness. So there is a way that we can then look at our own state of mind. We can develop ways of looking at our own mind and recognizing that the problem is not in the object. Even if you take away the object, you can still remain with mental unhappiness. So it's not that the problem is out there. The problem is with our own afflictive states of mind.
Miji susu sutan gemu shawai kawkala kondu sagwa danganzo tedi kharchin miti gemu nganzo den gemu shawai na kondu sagwa gi gyunzen khardes kachi sutan gemu shawai na gagorda kachi sutan gemu shawai na kondu sagwa di be din gawar wasra.
And sometimes, sorry, I left out something. So Geshe said that sometimes it's just enough for someone to look at us in the wrong way or to smile at us, and we get angry. So it's actually quite strange, quite funny when you start to think about it, in the way that we react to someone. Someone might be looking at you in a certain situation that they might look at you in a particular way, and you get angry. Or they smile at you, and it makes you happy. And yet, situation might reverse or might work in a different way, and you will react different to the same event.
The love the mission had near those tower begin. Mijiki Japares Lana, Kondo Sating a Pemondos, the Dinangi, Manchachi, Richik Doji, me Richik Doji, Kiran Japares Lavina, let the Kondo Sadrangi, Pemambu with us. That D told us someone's Tawina, so Japa Imbaina. Japanese Lavna, we in this was, Kondo Sago Mundas. The Kosos Japa Mena, Pashomi Java Res Lavina, Korang Kejadi, Korang non choose on the shed. This was Java Raman, Dig Kondo Sago Mundas. The those children wanted in Java cell like 6 Diton, Kondo Sago against Chiamon, the pet Kondo Seji, and Doma Lord in Pimamu Yungoras.
And Geshe says that when you look at the operation of the mind and how it reacts to different situations, it can be actually quite confronting, quite funny. Like, for example, Geshe has one example. He doesn't know if all of us would agree with that. But for example, in our culture here, people do not like to be told that they're overweight or they're fat, right? If someone points out to you that you're fat, it is likely that you get angry. But then if you look at that kind of, if you look at your own physical condition and you know that you're overweight, what's the reason that you're getting angry? I mean, someone is just stating something that is in line with reality. They're stating something. Is there any reason to become angry with that? For your mental happiness to be destroyed or for getting angry? There's no reason to become angry if someone is stating something that is in line with reality, and yet our immediate reaction to that is anger and unhappiness.
Quick out on. You couldn't get the Hakosin. You get Hakon, Kunga Washington, and then you mean love to that. I let you go to the by Sangala. The wonder, then you go to go to your that Tangan go to love Chenny, not long by now. Then he non true that. Ha, forgetting other. And I let you go to the by
Way back when Geshe was still living in his monastery in India, he remembers that it was before the time of mobile phones, when people had to use mostly landlines. Maybe a few people had mobile phones, but it was quite rare. So one day Geshe called one of his friends, and there was a small monk at the house. No, maybe it was 7 or 8 or 9 years old, and he was the one who picked up the phone. So he had Geshe's voice, and he recognized the voice, but he couldn't remember what was Geshe's name. So he said, "Oh yeah, you're the bald-headed dude, right?" So maybe for us it doesn't sound so insulting, but when you tell someone in Tibetan society that they're bald-headed, sometimes it's not kind of taken in the right way. So Geshe thought himself, well, it just stated the fact.
Did you control say when that Chong because the cover chai
Another way of reacting to that situation was to get angry and just hang off.
대생 아주 컨트롤 사야 될이야. 원이 아니 당로 야부 따면 견제 제메부터 만주 뺐디 아니 녀만나지 차줘야 돼. 때 방부 연구도 왔어라.
Anyway, the point is that when we get angry and our mind is made so unhappy, when you start to look at the reasons for getting angry, you end up seeing that there is absolutely no reason for becoming angry.
대저다 두수 참말로 컨트롤 당 아니 난미 바라래야 차도단 젠섬세라 소바다 두상으로 시야기 탑시 약수디 아니 잠재생이 차고레스 로 덤비기 추조기 님부디 아니 따와된 정당 아니 저거 체험해 봐 저거 체험해 봤으라운 또 잠재기 상들 토기 아니 능하게 잡아지려야 되니 저거 체험해 봤으라고 그랬어 디치디기 다 잠재생이디 왜 마시고 간주지 아니 지당의 심진 요도 졸이야 아니 잠재생인데 개체뭐 다들 미치서 딘디질이야 안 드럼 딘디질 나와라이다 잠재 때 마스가 개체뭐 디차고 그래서 진짜 안 디기 잠재 라브자디 다시 삽슈 기슈디 안 계란조기다 남아치고 말에 남치고 말에 이내야 좀 된디기 라브자 나시기 때문에 지 세바이나 근데 통투그리 디기 수수메슬에 팽그레스
So we recognize that we have those afflictive states of mind, anger and jealousy, pride, and so forth. In order to vanquish those states of mind, we develop opposites to them, like, for example, a sense of concern, loving kindness to others, having a sense of love and concern to others. Actually, when you look at the teachings of the Buddha, you can summarize them into two aspects. There is an aspect of the philosophical view, which is called the view of dependent origination, and the practice of non-harmfulness and non-violence. And the practice of non-harmfulness, non-violence is a practice of loving kindness, or in a sense of concern for others. In fact, from a Buddhist perspective, we want to develop an attitude of love and concern to all living beings, all sentient beings. And looking at the world today, we can say that even more than before, there's a great need for people to develop that sense of genuine concern for one another. So in order then to do that, you don't need to become Buddhist. It's not that only Buddhists can do it. Geshe reckons that if you decide that this is something that is important to do, to develop that greater sense of love and concern to others, then you can look at what the Buddha said with respect to that, and put it into practice without even regarding yourself as Buddhist.
아니 만두 스타드 잠블링 요타몽 쳇디 요타몽 쳇 요타 참아도 아니 잠지 라비자 만당위 왕기 아니 요타 차기어도 패시브요레스.
And it is clear that the problems that we experience now in the world are attributed by and large to a lack of loving concern for one another.
좋아. 아니 진짜 배는 간주기야. 다 메소수기 기획기 미치기 나라에 상담하나. 아니 장지 가족 같은 친구인 봐. 장지 가족 개친구인 봐야 먼저 포토 그래서 먼저 춘춘 권이야. 됐지. 아메 코바나야. 다와 구 니진 다 단다 봐도 먼저 잠지를 슈지 땡고도 왔어. 춘춘 권이야. 아메 잠지 매바나 먼저 싸워니니 아니 창원 총다 매바지기. 내단지기 왔어. 괜히 지금 야 아니 지금 로 다를 가도냐 지금 깬 독자도 많잖아 안 소소소 지금 내가 그래요 고템바지다 연구할 때니 막 겁이 올까야 아니 미생기 잠질이야 네버 땡고도 왔어. 사도도 긴거 찾을까야 아니 가지고 장경칭이 여반 뒤쪽이 기부도 왔어. 근데 소소 기부 여반시 내 참으로 지기린 것이 패시브리스로.
And the development of love and concern to one another is so important. We can see how we are dependent upon the loving concern of others right from the very get-go. You know, when we think of, for example, our process of evolution, being formed in a mother's womb, staying there for, let's say, 9 months, being born, been taken care of in a process of growing up and developing, it would not have been possible without love and concern. The love and concern to begin with that a mother has shown to us. And also when we look at other things that have happened to us throughout our life, we can recognize how deeply we depend upon the concern of others. And while it is true that along the way, certain unfavorable conditions could occur, still, in most cases, when we look at how we're able to not only survive, but also thrive, it is solely dependent upon the concern of others. And particularly as we grow old, how much more comfortable or happy we would be if we were surrounded by people that care for us. So looking at different times, different periods of our life, different situations in our life, Geshe recognizes that we can genuinely recognize the importance of love and concern.
딘자베나 가죽이 아니 잠바다 째어요바 디축이 아니 콩로 연구 말에 아니 디체도더니 가리나타 르탄 투레지 연구다서 빼는 간죽이 가진징이 파마초기 간주 춘중 깔아야 비 다치 소주기 쪼버친 춘제니 베 가사칼이야 아니 땅 로데미 갑들이야 파마초기 가르치고 존나야 뒤쪽 가르 땅고 존나야 완주치도 땅 투야디 가르스는 완주를 찌비 째어요 봐인자 디르와스로 완주를 째어 메바나 아니 니마 딘 니몬이 베는 아니 상존나야 쪼버이고 난신 이운 조그라스로
And if you develop if you develop loving concern to others, if you develop loving kindness to others, that would be the thing that will fight against anger. So it is clear that we were treated, that we were taken care of through loving kindness and concern. Like, for example, when we think of the love that a mother has shown to us at the early stages of development. Think about a small child and how messy it is to have a child. Not only they soil themselves, but also all their surrounding becomes dirty and messy. And a mother took care of us with great kindness, without being enraged or going out of control. There was this great degree of love and concern that was spent on us in the process of development. Otherwise, without that degree of loving concern, loving kindness that a mother had to us, being so messy, Geshe reckons that we would have easily ended up in a trash bin because of being so messy, unless a mother had a deep sense of love and concern to us.
딜딘자 아니 간주 초보 펜저리 아니 롱보 펜저리 야카 펜저리 가주기 째어요 봐이나 뒤주기 녀다디 용그레스 녀다디 용마레스. So
then looking at our relationships in our society, amongst our friends and so forth, with a degree of love and concern for one another, problems would not arise. Whereas without a degree of concern, problems do arise. Oh yeah, Chinle. Namaskar, Baya.
Testere. Nzo kama jonga nishusto satu.
Konjo masa.
Ader dinza ani tang nganzu gi tachi chamze singi katsu singi kichimbu yimba di nganzu semla chorwaina ani chamze gi nyamnin chiwala ya ani ganna da chona yungro asra.
Anyway, the point is that when we discover how important loving kindness is and a sense of concern for others, we take it up with a sense of joy, with a sense of enthusiasm in our heart.
장제 생이 배나 제와 생 제와 민지 세디 아니 다 동화다 잔두기 상로치 토니 샤기요레스 인자 동화 디 소수 되고메바 난신기 미신게 동화 되고메바디 아니 지규레스 찬냠레스 인자 잔댕기 토니 다 소수의 동화 문제가 나지 미신야 동화 맞으나 아니 야보르와 삼삼 제마로 삼비기 상로디 제와레스 디 키웨바지레도 아스라.
And our approach to the development of loving concern to others, loving kindness to others, is not irrational. It needs to be done on a rational basis. It needs to be a logical approach to the development of loving concern for others. Like, for example, when we consider the way that we develop compassion to others, a sense of love or compassion to others, we do that in a way that is honest. In that we first of all start to look at our own experiences and we recognize how do we feel when we experience pain or suffering. And then we start to think of others and we recognize that just like me, when others experience pain, they find it something that they do not wish for. It is an undesired experiences. They do not seek that. So just like me, they wish to be free from that. May they be free from that. May they not have that experience. So this approach to the development of love to others or a sense of compassion to others is not irrational. It is totally rational.
가서다 대기 트라이얼 소바 미션을 통종 지역을 소바 미션을 옆제 지역을 소바 수수 대기 기체도 대체와나 아니 미디 장부 차마서스 로 장부 차마서스 먼저 미션 바지기 장부 마지와나 아니 미디 장부 문두스 랍지는 바 쉬우지 아니 카다미 제친 계시그라스 이내 수수 장부 마지와디 수수 맞서와나 아니 간주다
So we recognize that equality, just like we don't want to suffer, so are other sentient beings, living beings, so also they do not want to suffer. And just like we wish to be happy, we wish to be well, others are just like that, equal to us in wanting to be happy and not and wishing to be well. So then, if for the sake of securing my own happiness and well-being, I harm others, in a sense that my happiness will come at the expense of others. If I belittle them, abuse them, take advantage of them, how can we maintain that we're being honest about pursuing our own happiness? This is a way of behaving that is completely dishonest. We sometimes react strongly to a discussion or argument about honesty. Now we kind of become really staunch or adamant in our approach to honesty. And yet when we look closely at our behavior, we might find that we've been dishonest in trying to accomplish what we want, that we're trying to accomplish our own happiness and well-being, even if it comes at the expense of others.
다 라비시 나올라요 요레스 인자 디 장바이노 인증니기 넘버 친구 말에 디 친구 말에스 디기 난지 참을로야 수수라 팽그리 수수기 남나 팽그리 수수 롬발라 팽그리 수수 야카발라 팽그리 로아티 아니 참지 디 데빈 존이 원이 차고르다 디 산점데 라비시 나올다 디 기치슈지 디요레스.
So then we have an explanation of the way to develop a sense of love and concern for others. And of the most profound explanations of the way to do it is the explanation that the Buddha, the Bhagavan, gave in his teachings. And you can take it up as training without necessarily seeing yourself as Buddhist. You don't need to be Buddhist in order to take up those teachings and put them into practice in order to develop a greater degree of concern, of love and concern to others. And if you do that, you yourself will be benefited by that. Not only you yourself, but also your family members, people in your vicinity, your country, our society by and large. Everyone will be benefited by the degree of loving concern.
다딩이 찬조라야 다지 모든 도도 지금 그래서 대단 어떤 남주기 진짜 참마 and drawings.
Anyway, Geshe made a pit stop in order to just say a few words about Buddhism in general for the people that came later on. But we also want to make sure that we cover some distance in the text that we've been looking at. So Geshe will go back to the text and maybe read a few words and see how it goes.
Lamrim
So we're now looking at Lama Tsongkhapa's middling presentation of the steps of the path to enlightenment.
Retan ibanis pena long to the sobig net sabochi tabana member cover so dedan chabana gawaching ki and member the chisele ni kubi ninku taras should be singing like a tether sobata ni could be mundo yen zinti chisu juche kubi ninku chavos.
So we've looked at, out of the 6 mental attitudes we develop when we listen to the teachings, we've covered the first one, which is contemplating the perception of oneself as a patient. Let's look at the second one, contemplating the perception of one expounding the Dhamma as a doctor. By way of analogy, if we're stricken with a serious illness, such as a wind or gall disease, we look for an expert physician. And meeting one, we are extremely happy, listen to what he says, treat him with respect and serve him. In the same way, one looks for a spiritual guide teaching the Dhamma, and having found one, accomplishes what he says, taking it not as a burden, but as an ornament, acting with respect and reverence towards him. Now, Geshe will read also through the next section. It's actually quite clear, quite straightforward. So let's look at generating the perception of the instruction as medicine. It says, just as a patient greatly appreciates the medicine put together by the doctor, you should regard the instructions and precepts taught by someone expounding the Dhamma as the most important thing, and then make an effort to hold them in respect rather than wasting them through forgetfulness and the like.
단디나물에 최송비 당나 제스템발라 개보진 통세디 답변 좀 된디 만줄이야 아니 나위 라비자디 기침부지 아니 통 투야래야 니래야지 라비자디 가리기체도 소르스 시바이나 라비자디 만수 규지다 직조 차담만서 니무도 섬디 마셰야기체도 답디 코니체도 송구여면서 아니 당보 소수규지 차단 모습 디게 아니 소소리아 가주스키 아니 쳇델이야 마기바 소도 아니 따지기와 치마생이 아니 고규르 내리 이내야 쳇델이야 마기바 소수지 가서다 베나 나미더베노 나미 추야기 유겐소디 아니 차단 모습 도니 지기요리 아니 정바 kimse pensu 만참에디야 차당 돈이 지기요래 넘바 pensu 만참에디 차당 돈 지어서 차당이 님이 가주스기 삼투바이나 디츠기 아니 템베 랍자디 아니 개침을 돈 투야지 땡땡 용그레스.
It says here in the second line, someone expounding the Dhamma is the most important thing. So we develop the mental attitude that thinking of the Dhamma as being the most important thing. So how do we develop that attitude? It's not going to grow up, it's not going to develop on its own accord. You start to think of the purpose of the Buddha, the purpose of the Dhamma. For what end was the Dhamma taught? Was the Dhamma taught solely for the purpose of pacifying our own poisonous states of mind, for the sake of taming or pacifying anger, attachment, and ignorance? And we can also come to see how unhappy we are made when anger, attachment, and ignorance control our mind. Not only we are made unhappy, but also looking at what will occur to us in the future, we can deduce that we will be made unhappy. Actually, next lifetime is hidden to us, so it's hard to really have a sense of to what degree we will be affected by them in a next lifetime, but at least we can see the effect of those afflictive states of mind over what we experience in this life. Like, for example, to the degree that anger, attachment, and so forth operate in our mind, we have problems and difficulties that arise in our own family unit. How much unhappiness and problems do we experience in our surrounding with people in a family? Disagreement, disharmony, and so forth because of anger, attachment, and so forth. And then with our neighbors, how many problems and difficulties we have because of those states of mind. And between our countrymen and countrywomen, how many problems and difficulties do we experience because of afflictive states of mind? This is something that we can certainly assess.
There does Shivanis nebi membe jeb me mountona and ne shimniba tonatar. The coped lever. The chema with tembi, Tambanyam Sumalanas. And the new Tuxongi, Nimbo, and delivery Congo, and delivery rest laya di, Soya di, any Piglia, any Shujuchin, di Tenlaya, and some gomsum said di ton pig, and to jet dancing in Bebachin, Magombaina, and Nimbo about Jatu Maris. The Jermatuna, and you to Shitu Maris.
Let's look at the next mental attitude that we develop. It is generating the perception of persistent practices to cure. First point in that is the contempt of striving after words without practicing them. An ill person sees his illness. An ill person sees that his illness cannot be alleviated unless he takes the medicine the doctor has put together and takes it. Likewise, once you see that attachment and so forth cannot be eliminated without practicing the advice taught by your Dhamma teacher, you should practice with persistence and not strive after the vain terms of numerous classifications without putting them into practice. So, pulling one of the points in that section out, once you investigate the teachings that you get, you conduct a research of the Dhamma that you listen to. You come to see that without putting time and effort into study, reflection, and meditation, without applying your mind to that, without being assiduous in your application of the Dhamma in your study, reflection, in meditation, you will not be able to vanquish your anger, attachment, and ignorance.
Je chaso ani jamudi un tone neding nyamsule ba chiki nyamne neba namram mambu so bitsi sur mineba was da nga chi mambu chi she mambu chi ni china ina thang matliya ani pigi nimbo le jarchine ani samlo neding chi mata baina ani pentoyu mares khatsam tsam gi chi rode baina mingo gortan soroch and dia chi suzu gortan soroch chawana and show me your was.
It says at the end of the third line, you should practice with persistence and not strive after the vain terms of numerous classifications without putting them into practice. To put those teachings into practice would mean to apply antidotes to our own anger, attachment, and ignorance. Without doing that, we might become skilled in verbalizing those teachings, speaking about those teachings, but it would be pointless. It would be useless if we just talk about it, but not put it into practice.
Then the labatan kamba chebala mean tun jiri nini tembi jian mingi watas yokul toma mebani nyumbi neshi tsarchi itebala damna gite len jiri nini zam nyamsleme muchobe lambi chatamchi zobala sosu tobi sherugi jeji chuwi gyunjin numbe tsaldi shekdole ten gyuntu sem namonla yurim tusu neji tenchichi Zijin kamba lapa chebala menga 당감 핸덴 바이 찌게 시소 못다로스.
Reading through the rest of this section, it says, as a matter of fact, what good would it be to a leper whose hands and legs are coming off to resort to a dose of medicine once or twice? Likewise, for us, we have been stricken since beginningless time with a wicked basis of illness, that is, the mental afflictions. It is not sufficient to practice the meaning of the instructions only a couple of times. This is why we should examine all the complete parts of the path with the wisdom of individual analysis and be as diligent as a flowing river. It is like it says in the praise of confession. That is to say, our minds are always obscured, for long we have served the causes of our ills. How can a leper whose hands and feet fall off and who takes his medicine but rarely derive any benefit? So we will leave the text here for today. Yeah, so let's put the concluding dedication prayers on the screen. Thank you very much. Before we do that, do we have any announcements?
Maybe for those people who are saying, who are interested this afternoon, we have His Holiness is giving a dialogue. We're going to watch here, live webcast.
What time? 2:30?
2:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m.
Okay.
Everyone is saying, what's that? And also Sunday, Temple Drumstill.
Yeah.
And
there is also a premiere of a movie, His Holiness's movie on Sunday.
yes, on Sunday at 2.
Are we going to watch it here?
The Great 14th. Yeah.
All right. So
2 p.m.
there are a few things happening. So today afternoon at 2:30, there is a broadcast of a dialogue with His Holiness Dalai Lama. So we're going to watch it here at the Gompa. Those of you who want to stay till 2:30, you're most welcome to join us. Also on Sunday, we have an anniversary celebration for the passing away of Venerable Dronsel, who was part of our community. So we're going to say a few prayers on her behalf and also visit the Nalanda Master's Garden. And in the afternoon, that would happen at 11 o'clock. Then in the afternoon, I think is it 2:30, the movie?
I think 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. Anyway, we'll check the time, and you can also check the time yourself. There is a global premiere of a new movie about His Holiness Dalai Lama. So we're going to watch it here. Yeah. But you can also register online somewhere. Just Google it, and you can also watch it at home. Like we're much more exciting to watch it here. So anyway, so let's put the prayers on the screen. And before I leave it here, on July 6th, it's going to be His Holiness Dalai Lama's birthday. So it's going to be birthday galore. It's going to be a wonderful and massive event that Geshe is immobilizing ahead. So it's going to start at 10 o'clock in the morning. And at 11 o'clock, Kyabje Lama Sopramche is going to come online and bless the garden and also give an advice. So we have created a plan, a COVID-19 plan that allows people to come and participate in the celebration. So if you have time, it's going to be Monday, not next week, but the week after that at 10 o'clock. You can come before that, make offerings to statues of the garden, flowers, what have you. It's going to be great. All right. Yeah. And even more so, Geshe said we're going to have a traditional Tibetan sweet rice and chai, and there's going to be a birthday cake. So come along. There are also going to be Tibetan songs, Tibetans, maybe also Chinese songs. You're putting something together. So come along. All right, so let's do some dedication prayers. Lama Sangye Dugune Drawachikyamadapa Desalago Pashu Koveshikandi, Vendande Walu Chuwen, Chenresi Wante Ziyasoi, Shabesi Devadu Tenyochi, Janchi Jangun Yahweh, Tenzi, Yahweh Kuzo, Choson Koele Montu, Sodu Shekondu Shate.
I've just mentioned while Geshe was working and making the rounds, greeting. If you haven't already signed on somewhere on the property for today, could you please do that? Because it's a requirement for our project plans and for the government. Thank you very much. And of course, everyone probably knows coffee and cake and chai and whatever's done in the cafe. Not lunch, we are lunch.
but I'll go and have a look. And